Hello everybody, I am making this video to show how to correctly set up any radio, in this particular a Futaba radio, with a Xicoy gas turbine in order to have all the correct settings for the throttle. So as you can see here, I just wrote it down before, we need to have a 4-stage of the PWM signal going from the radio to the aircraft in order to have full throttle, idle, off and fall safe. Okay, in this way the gas turbine understand exactly what's happening when you are, of course, in one of the 4 conditions and act accordingly. And the most important one is in fail safe, that must be different from off in order for the turbine to act correctly. So I'm gonna show you the setup that I have. I'm gonna show you the setup that how to do the setup on a Futaba radio, and this can be the same logic can be applied to any radio. So the first things that I show you is the fail safe, that for the throttle it's set up to minus 135. Okay, that corresponds roughly at 950 microsecond. The second parameter that I'm gonna show you is the throttle cut. So in this case I'm using the throttle cut function of my Futaba radio that is assigned to the rotary switch RD. In this way, when I'm in throttle cut, the throttle is not moving, and I have, as we can see from the screen directly, 1070 microsecond value, which on the servo monitor on the radio is about 106 roughly. Okay, this number doesn't need to be exactly as mine. The most important thing is having these 4 stages and having, at, if I don't remember wrong, 20 or 15 microsecond difference between all the various stages in order for the turbine to understand the differences. So the moment I remove the throttle cut, as you can see the throttle going from 106 to roughly 70, which is 122 microsecond, in this case 124 from the computer. Okay, and then of course I have the throttle control up to 70. Now I'm gonna stop before the turbine start. Okay, and the moment that we're, regardless this, which is the position, so let's assume we are flying half throttle, very common position, and you can see the microsecond change on the screen. The moment I switch off the radio, aka the system goes in fail safe, the parameters goes to 150, which is fail safe, is not idle, is not off, is a fail safe, completely different setup. So let me turn on back the radio, and let me show you how I have set up this. So I previously copied the same memory to a new one, and I basically blanked the throttle control. Everything else is the same, just for the sake of it. So the first things I'm gonna do is going into the endpoint and set up the minimum of the throttle to the absolute minimum, going down on the side. Now here's a 140, but the limiter is this one, 135. This is the limit. Okay, in this way now I can go into the failsafe, disable and re-enable the failsafe, and assign the failsafe to the 135 that we said before. In this way, when the radio will go in failsafe, we'll send this value to the FADEC. Now I'm going back to the endpoint, and I'm gonna reduce massively this one to, for example, 70, and just for my OCD I put 70 also on the maximum. This is just a personal preference, and there is no difference in this, because once you calibrate, then of course the computer on the turbine will of course have the minimum and the maximum, and will adjust the throttle accordingly. Okay, now that I have this, I'm gonna set up the throttle cut, which is now is on off. I'm gonna assign to any switch I want. In this case, I still prefer the RD, which is this rotary switch, so I have enough margin. And then I will put the cut position to 0. Okay. In this way, I have the throttle going to 0 and then going back to the value that I have over there. Okay, if we observe this from the servo monitor, once again on the throttle, I have minus 70 plus 70 for the throttle, but if I go in throttle cut, it goes to minus 106 or something similar, and the FADEC will read this. Now, the Futaba radio doesn't show the proper PWM value, that's why I written here on the piece of paper and just the mirroring of what appear over there. But the same logic can apply to any other radio, Spectrum, multiplex, FR Sky, whatever you prefer. The most important thing, having these 4 separate stages with a fail-safe correctly set up in such a way when the radio and aka the plane goes in fail-safe mode, the turbine knows that it's in fail-safe and act accordingly to the setup of that you have done, and set up accordingly to the safest behavior as possible. So just to go back, I'm gonna load back the original memory. The one is bind to my plane, and show you again the 4 stages. So we are now in throttle cut. So if I move the throttle, I don't know if it's possible to see, the value remains the same. If I remove the throttle cut, the value goes slightly up and I have normal control. The moment I switch off the radio, the system goes in fail-safe correctly. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.